Dogs are known as man's best friends. But are we dogs' best friends? I have two furry friends, Frosty and Raven. Frosty's a husky and Raven's a mongrel. To me, there isn't much of a difference. But when I bring them out for walks, Frosty gets patted, even hugged by strangers, while people avoid Raven to the extent that some would cross the street, just because she was once a stray dog. A stray dog doesn't have a place in society, but there's no reason why they should be shunned. They have the right to live in our society too. They didn't want to be strays. The aim of this project is to raise awareness for stray dogs and to promote the concept of adoption. Although this documentary is based on Hong Kong, it is a global issue that affects every country. From my research, over 40% of 150 people surveyed are concerned with hygiene of stray dogs. 39% are afraid of dog attacks. Some people fear them or hate them, and humans are often cruel to them.
如果佢喺街邊見到隻狗，佢瞓咗喺度，佢下一步係 call 咩咧？食環署，一定係 call， 漁護署都唔 call 啊？點解？因為佢已經瞓咗地下度啦嘛。佢係 call 食環署嚟收咗你動物走。嗰啲生勾勾啲 call 漁護署啦，就捉咗佢殺啦。咁我哋仲點能夠話我哋香港呢個社會，或者話我哋自己人咧？其實我哋香港好有愛心㗎，我哋好有善心㗎。
Rather than despising these stray dogs, have you ever asked yourself where they came from? Why are they strays?
咁基本上我哋對動物嘅認知都係從呢個食用動物開始。咁呢個係唔可以否認嘅。咁唔好理佢好唔好先。咁動物始終都係一個用嚟食嘅一個嘅物件嚟嘅。
This is not of the dogs causing problems. It's the human being started everything, and it caused nuisance.
咁我覺得係人類令到佢哋去流浪㗎，即係你好似話有時有啲地盤啊或者車場啊咁樣，佢哋需要隻狗去看門口，咁佢就揾啲狗啊嚟。
咩叫工作動物咧？中國人其實我哋自小咧都係借助動物嘅方便嚟到做嘢嘅。企咗隻牛啦，咁隻狗就攞嚟開門口㗎啦，貓就要嚟捉老鼠㗎啦。咁
跟住到個地盤或者做完員工啦，或者個車場唔做啦，咁我就有啲狗去自生自滅啊，周圍流浪。咁呢啲我覺得都係人去令到啲狗流浪咁多時。
Because we treat them as objects, it makes it easier to abandon them, just like throwing away toys. And it's also easier to have the concept of buying a pet, like getting a product from a store.
The fact that there are so many pet shops and so many breeders and so many home breeders, there must be demand.
Approximately 69% of the dogs were bought from pet shops, while only 20% of them were adopted. The other 11% were either given by friends or relatives or fostered from the wild.
So obviously, dogs are continuing, they're still being bought, and I would say it's more likely the case that people are buying rather than adopting. It really is, it's a trend. Pomeranians used to be very popular, as did Schnauzers. We still see those, but poodles and corgis are definitely more popular at this point. In a year's time it will probably change. It depends on what's going on in the rest of the world, and suddenly everybody wants what's in. It's just like a handbag. Everybody wants the latest fashion.
Even when dogs aren't being used as a fashion statement, they are often also victims of our changing circumstances. When asking dog owners why they are willing to abandon their dogs, the most common answers were that there wasn't enough time to take care of the pet. Some other responses include moving homes and even because the breed was no longer in fashion.
A lot of people abandon their dogs rather than try and do the right thing. And it doesn't matter if it's a breed or not. When they don't want the animal anymore, they just dump them.
狗嘅體積真係比較大，特別係流浪狗、唐狗，所以揾到領養嘅機會咧並唔係100%。幾可惜嘅就係有啲狗如果揾唔到領養咧，佢哋要去到啲狗場俾人收留。而我個人我都好坦白咁同你講，狗場並唔係一個理想嘅地方，我自己都唔願意，亦都唔中意。咁但係亦都冇辦法。
譬如我手上面呢隻 BB 咧，佢就係一個私人繁殖場度拯救咗佢翻嚟嘅。咁佢就係攞嚟俾人哋配種，跟住你見到喺寵物店見到嗰啲 BB 咧，就係佢哋生出嚟嘅咯。咁佢嗰個生活環境係好差嘅。咁我初領養佢翻嚟嘅時候，其實佢無論行為上面啦、心理同埋生理其實都出現好多嘅問題。
The facilities or the area that or the rooms or the wherever they're bringing up these puppies, sometimes they may be very small, very crowded. At sometimes when there is overcrowding, you will then tend to get more animals in contact with one another. And many of the young puppies that develop diseases are viral type diseases, and they generally are spread due to close contact. So if you have a very closed environment, it's very crowded, it just makes it a lot more easier for animals to get sick.
例如就係佢咧成身都係傷晒啦，同埋佢最明顯就係，因為我都有帶佢俾獸醫嗰度檢查，咁佢咧其實依家咧已經係俾人哋割咗聲帶㗎啦，咁佢係唔識得吠嘅。我問翻啲義工救佢，啲義工就係佢係韞喺個籠裏邊啦，跟住就不斷咁樣俾人哋繁殖。咁我救佢嘅時候佢係4歲，咁其實我估計佢都應該生咗超過8至到10胎㗎啦。因為我記得我初抱佢嘅時候咧，見到佢咧下體近生 BB 個位置咧，其實係好腫嘅。
You heard about Norfolk cases that happened a couple of years ago? Yeah, that's the exact cases. What happened is that it's just not one case. It's always happened because there's a pedigree husky. There's hundreds of dogs there, all female. All the lives are in the cages. The mission is to give birth. What happened is that once the mother cannot give birth anymore, what happened? They just dump it on the street. Become a stray dog.
The act of purchasing is already an indication of viewing a dog as a commodity, and further encouraging illegal breeders to continue the demand and supply through cruelty.
其實最唔公平嘅，我覺得就係有啲動物好寶貴，你可能生日會花幾十萬搞個生日會，平時咧就即係使幾萬蚊去梳毛嚇，咁有啲動物咧有私人醫生跟住佢嘅咁樣，咁當然都係好極端嘅例子啦。咁但我睇翻原來平時我哋好多嘅基本嘅醫療嘅服務咧，動物咧講緊都係過千蚊喎起碼。咁一個普通嘅人或者普通嘅貓狗，佢哋係冇機會睇醫生。咁我哋講翻最嚴重、最極端嘅例子啦，就係流浪動物。即係你今日呢個 project 裏邊，你牽涉到最多嗰啲動物啦。流浪動物唔好話冇錢啦，佢連主人都冇。咁係唔係代表到所有流浪動物就應該病死咧？
跟住另外呢一隻就仲慘啲啦，呢一隻你見佢啲皮膚同埋腳仔紅晒啦，係咪？佢就有毛囊蟲嘅，咁就因為長時間冇照顧啦，佢都係 stray animal 嚟嘅。佢其實今日好少少啦，佢前2日入院，我記得佢係 啲腳仔全部都滲血嘅，應該要觀察差唔多2個禮拜啦。睇下小心2個禮拜，睇下佢嗰個情況係點樣，再同佢安排 surgery。咁我哋 at the same time 已經叫啲救佢嘅義工就好，即係準備揾定 foster family 同埋 adopter。因為其實如果佢放翻原本嘅地方，其實都冇用，係啦，幫唔到隻動物。
When people say cruelty, they always say beating up is a cruelty, but they never realize not treating the dogs well is also a kind of cruelty. Okay, so when we ask people, when you do our education, we don't say, oh, don't beat up your dog, don't do this, don't do that. I think it's a very minimum standard. We always encourage people to love and care for all life.
Many organizations turn to the program of TNR, which means Trap Neutral Release, and the concept of adoption.
There are surely better methods, and TNR would be a very good way to begin. It would reduce the number, and we know that from the cat colony care program.
TNR 即係做絕育 desexing 嗰個 program 咯，咁我哋目的係想控制翻佢哋嘅數量，唔使不斷咁樣去增加啊咁。
If I have a client or someone who asks me about getting a new dog, I would always ask them to consider adoption first.
因為買動物背後咧，其實會助長咗好多嘅私人繁殖同埋一啲非法嘅繁殖。咁佢只係其實佢唔會覺得佢哋係生命嘅，佢淨係會覺得佢哋係一個商品。
Quite often people buy pets because they don't know any different. But public awareness is, of course, improving. There are a lot more ads on TV, in newspapers, magazines, etc. So people are moving more towards adoption.
10年前未有呢個知識，咁所以就會揀買咯。但係而家可能就會揀另揀咯。
There's a long way to go, but in the last 10 years it has improved a lot. But unfortunately, with the sheer number of abandoned animals, there are never enough to meet the demands. People still want to adopt animals, yes, but they want mostly pedigrees.